Welcome to this first episode of Beyond the Table, a documentary or video essay series about the rise of Critical Role as a successful entertainment and media company. I would just like to start by saying thank you for all the positivity that I've already received for this project. I know it's impossible to make everyone happy, especially on the internet, but it is comforting to see that some people support this project. So, with that, let's begin with Chapter 1, The Gift. Critical Role may mean a lot of different things depending on who you are or how you stumbled upon them. Some may have just discovered them from their new and popular Amazon TV show, The Legend of Vox Machina. Or perhaps it was their dark and dramatic D&D campaign centered around the Mighty Nine that caught the interest of many. It is also possible that you may have come across them from one of their other internet shows that they have created and produced. Or, like me, you may have discovered their group streaming from their first campaign on Geek & Sundry, where they created the original story for Vox Machina through live improv. Regardless of how or when you found them, Critical Role has had an online presence for years, and has especially made a profound impact on the nerdy side of the internet. With this series, I hope to explore the entire story of Critical Role, including its journey before it was even a show, which is where I would like to begin today. Some of you may be familiar with the story of Critical Role's conception, but this video is for all Critical Role fans, both old and new, as we go into depth about their campaign's journey, and hopefully, everyone will learn at least one new thing. So, let's start at the beginning, with a gift. A birthday gift to one man, Liam O'Brien. Liam O'Brien is a successful voice actor, known for roles such as Gaara in Naruto.
In the past, I was hatred, and power, and a Jinchuriki.
Yasuo in the League of Legends game.
The blade, above all things, except a good drink.
Gollum from the Shadow of War and Mordor games.
We saved you, right, Master?
He's been a voice director for projects like the infamous The Last of Us, as well as countless other voices in American cartoons and English dub anime. Liam had spent time in his high school years playing Dungeons & Dragons with some friends, around the age of 16, but mainly as a dungeon master, never playing too seriously or completing a whole campaign. However, as he got older, he had less time and more responsibilities and lost touch with the game. But Liam loved the game and always stood by that. In 2012, Liam began working with a fellow voice actor, Matthew Mercer, on Resident Evil 6, while serving as the game's voice director. Matthew, who voiced Leon S. Kennedy in the game, is a veteran of Dungeons & Dragons, and had been playing since he was very young. Through casual conversation while working together, Matthew and Liam discovered their shared passion for D&D, and the campaign that Matthew was currently a part of came up. Matthew had offered a place in the campaign for Liam, but he kindly declined. These attempts went on for a while, with Matthew trying to convince Liam to experience the game again, and Liam continuing to pass on the opportunities, as he felt he needed to prioritize his profession and other responsibilities. But then, he received an offer that he couldn't refuse. For Liam's birthday, Matthew offered him a one-shot experience with some of their voice actor friends, a gift that he had finally accepted in May of 2012, under the precursor that the one-shot experience would be perfect for his new podcast. This very recently created podcast, All Work No Play, was one that he had just started with his best friend Sam Riegel, where the friends went to try new things as an excuse to hang out. However, due to the group's schedule, the one-shot event was not able to happen until December of that year. And that is where their story begins. On December 8th, 2012, the first session of Dungeons & Dragons was run in Matthew Mercer's home.
It was one of those, as soon as they entered the apartment, had the table set out with candles and music playing, every character sheet's laid out, I'm like, come, sit.
Liam had brought with him Sam Riegel, Orion Akaba, and married couple Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham, all of which were allegedly new to D&D at this point. On the other hand, Matthew brought his girlfriend Marisha Ray and mutual close friend Taliesin Jaffe, both of whom had enough experience with D&D to help direct the group. Marisha, however, did not actually participate in the game, acting solely as a guide for all the new players.
And then Matt was like, would you be willing to be there to just kind of be an extra set of hands and help coach? I was like, yeah, sure.
This group gathered together to create their characters and then began to play through their one-time D&D experience, running on the older D&D 4th edition. The group played late into the night and even early into the next morning and seemed to have loved it. But the game came to a close, and they all went their separate ways. Yet, despite its ending, Liam could not get over how much he enjoyed playing D&D again, especially with such good friends who were willing to take the game seriously.
It was awesome. It was f***ing awesome, okay? I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna blow the compression on the microphone. It was f***ing awesome. I want more. I want more. And I'm not the only one.
After a few days of letting the one-shot settle, Liam reached out to the group, asking if everyone else was feeling the same way he was, and he hoped to start a reoccurring game from where they had left off. Unfortunately, there was no immediate response.
And I sent out an email and nobody responded for a long time.
This left Liam feeling unsure and even a bit awkward about how excited he had gotten about the whole idea. But, luckily for him and the rest of us, the excitement was mutual, and it was only due to the group's conflicting schedules that no one had responded immediately to Liam's message. Matthew also had similar feelings about the game, wondering if this group would continue to meet.
And we all finished the game, we all had a blast, everyone was drinking, it was a good time, and I was like, cool, that was your first D&D experience, hope you guys had fun. And then there was that 3-day period of silence where I was like, oh, I hope you had a good time.
And Travis eventually reached out to the group much like Liam did to encourage another session.
And that email came in from Travis that was like, so guys, when are we playing again?
The group reconnected shortly after, and this game eventually became a reoccurrence, evolving into a full-on campaign. The group would meet every so often to continue their story, but it was never a stressful commitment. The campaign was solely intended to shoot the breeze and have a good time. Slowly, the players figured out the game and began to flesh out their characters. Laura and Liam played half-elf twins, since they shared the same real-life birthday and were both drawn to similar character playstyles. Liam played a rogue, and Laura played a ranger, both matching stealthy, perceptive characters. Travis, however, went a completely different route, going as a half-giant barbarian who fights first and thinks later, if at all. Sam spun his humor and lightheartedness into a gnome bard, solely based on the recommendation by Liam as what was considered the worst character type he could pick.
Can I just be the worst? What's the worst? I'll be the worst character.
Well,
Is
you could
that
be
like a
gnome?
Sure, what's that?
Orion played a headstrong dragonborn sorcerer, always looking for an opportunity to demonstrate his abilities. And Taliesin originally started as a dragonborn paladin character earlier in the campaign, but eventually changed pretty quickly into a new character, a dark and mysterious human playing a homebrew class that he and Matthew had made together, calling it a gunslinger. Together, the group formed the Super High Intensity Team, going more commonly by a less respectable acronym at the suggestion of Sam's character. However, the group was only like this for one session before Ashley Johnson's introduction in 2013. Ashley was working with Liam on a little game called The Last of Us, where she played one of the lead characters, Ellie. They both went to Troy Baker's birthday party, who voiced Joel from the same game, where Ashley overheard Liam talking about the game and she quickly wanted to join, and was accepted. This being Ashley's first time playing pen and paper Dungeons & Dragons, she curiously jumped on the opportunity. With a lot of popular characters and roles already filled within the group, Ashley chose to create a gnome cleric, thinking it would be funny and interesting to play.
I was like, I'll be a gnome, I don't know, because that's kind of funny.
Yeah. And
I went to the game and everybody was like doing voices and in character, and I was like, oh, holy shit, okay. And I was hooked.
She very soon became an invaluable member of the team, constantly bolstering the group and keeping everyone alive. It would appear at the same time, Marisha also officially joined the group with her half-elf druid. She based her story loosely on the story of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and made charisma her weakest ability, so that she would have an excuse to be more introverted, given that she had not been very familiar with the members of the group at this time. Regardless of Marisha's initial passive playstyle, or Ashley's newer experience to the game, with both of them officially part of the group, the team was born. From here, the story slows down just a little bit. The group continued to gather and play consistently when their schedules allowed, building a cohesive story while fleshing out who their characters really were. It is also important to note that once they started their campaign, they switched to Pathfinder as their game version, which required some homebrew for characters like Grog, Travis's Goliath, since this was not a native race in the Pathfinder system. But things continued this way, until June of 2014, when the company of Geek and Sundry met with Critical Role and the idea to stream this campaign was kindled. For a little context, Geek and Sundry was a YouTube channel, founded in 2012, off of the YouTube Original Channel initiative that YouTube did, where they funded channels to make content that they felt people would want to see. Under the category Geek Entertainment, Felicia Day and Kim Evie proposed the channel Geek and Sundry, where they would make several mini-shows about geeky content alike, and their proposal was approved. They ended up growing as a channel, and were receiving millions of views consistently. In 2014, however, Felicia Day was working with Ashley on one of their shows, Spooked, and she got wind of the campaign that the group was running and instantly became intrigued. She had previously had ideas to launch a Twitch channel to pair with their YouTube channel and felt like a show about a D&D campaign could be the perfect content for this pairing. I am skimming over some facts here because this is a commentary about Critical Role, not Geek and Sundry, but it is still important to have some sort of background information on how this idea of streaming the D&D campaign sparked. Regardless, Geek and Sundry reached out to Matthew and proposed the idea, to which he then proposed to the group, and the group decided to give it a chance.
It's the best thing we ever did! Best thing we ever did!
This started several months of pre-production, where there were logistics figured out on how the campaign would be streamed, as well as a preparation period for Matthew. He fleshed out a lot of the story, and had the group transition to D&D 5th edition due to its more mainstream acceptance and easier combat system. He essentially wanted to create an easier viewing experience for the casual audience. Also, as they were preparing for their streaming platform on their D&D campaign, the group decided to change their group name to Vox Machina, or Voice Machine in Latin, nodding at their professions as voice actors. This transition to streaming wasn't perfect, and there were some attempts to change the way the group played the game by Geek and Sundry's executives, but the group refused, and only agreed to do the stream if they could keep what they had, which is what made it so special to them, and thank goodness they did. In March of 2015, Geek and Sundry had their first stream, and on the 12th of March, the first episode of Critical Role streamed. And it was, well, that's going to be a discussion for another video. Thank you for making it this far, and I hope that you've enjoyed the first episode of this series. Next episode, I will be exploring the start of Critical Role streaming days and how they quickly grew to become a fan favorite show. But before I end this episode, I just want to have a wrap-up portion, where I kind of just give my thoughts on all of this that I've already talked about. I just first want to say, the reason I really wanted to do this is because of how much of an impact Critical Role has made in my life, and I know it's made in a lot of other people's lives. For me, this was a new level of storytelling, and I understand that there have been other shows about D&D, and there's been other D&D sessions streamed, but I feel like with the quality and work that Matthew puts into creating a cohesive story, and the commitment that these voice actors had and the excitement they had because of how new a lot of them were for the show, it just made it something that was so exciting to be a part of and to watch them do and just to be a part of it as a community. And I knew as soon as I watched them that it was something that I'd never seen before, and I've always been a fan, but I feel like there's not enough justice done to the work that they've put in to get where they're at now, which is kind of why I wanted to make this series. What I also love about them, and some of the things that I've seen in interviews that they've talked about, is they felt how special it was too. Even the experienced D&D players like Matthew, Marisha, and Taliesin, and even Liam, they could tell it was something special. They could tell that it was different, which obviously it worked out for them, and a lot of other people saw how awesome it was as well. And I also know that I'm not perfect, and there's a lot of things I'm going to miss, or I already have missed, so please, if you know any other information, if you are familiar with some things that I may have missed out on, or I just said wrong, let me know in the comments. In the end, I'm going to try to put everything together into one long documentary or video essay, and I'll have everything kind of polished up. So if there's things that you know that I don't, please let me know. If you've liked what you've seen so far, please like and subscribe so that way you can be notified when I post the next episode and you can stay up to date with this series. I also do just want to mention that I do have a Patreon. It's not required by any means, but if you'd like to support this channel or support what I do, feel free to go check that out. Thank you for being such an amazing community. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.